Mr. Beitler, talk to me a little bit about why you decided to rejoin the Republican Party and run for Secretary of State.
Well, that's exactly what I did, John. I rejoined the party. I was a Republican all my life. I was raised by a Republican father. And my dad used to tell me there were four things that Republicans believed in: free markets, limited government, constitutions of all the land, and personal responsibility. So even from when I was a young child, I felt it was pretty self-explanatory and self-evident to me. So I was a Republican all my life. And then around 2006, 2008, it felt like the Republican Party was drifting off track. They were voting for TARP and corporate bailouts and buying the auto industry with taxpayer dollars. So I was asked by the Libertarian Party to run against Richard Burr because he voted for TARP and corporate bailouts. And my first reaction was, I didn't feel comfortable running against a Republican, but I had a book out at that time called Rational Individualism, and the subtitle of it is A Moral Argument for Limited Government and Capitalism. And then I had a radio show called Free Markets, and basically the Libertarian Party challenged me and said, put your money where your mouth is. If you really believe this stuff, you ought to be running against Burr. So I took the challenge. I lost big. Burr won easily, as everybody recalls. But I think it was a chance to get some exposure statewide, to learn a little bit about North Carolina politics, and found that I enjoyed it, and then make a statement about that I really believe that those four things that my father told me about really do apply to.
How long do you think it'll be until a third-party candidate can make a legitimate challenge in North Carolina? There's a lot of talk about this at the national level. How long do you think it'll take to happen here, if at all?
John, I have to say, I think it's going to be an awful long time. I really do, because we're so entrenched in our two-party system. And with all its faults, I think I'm at a point after my 2010 race where, at least for me, I won't speak for the Libertarians, but if I can't convince the Republican Party that I've got a good platform to run on, how would I do it statewide with Democrats and independents? So I think it's a good vetting process to go through the Republican process.
Now that you are back in the Secretary of State's race as a Republican, who do you like in the GOP presidential contest?
I hate to confess this because I think I'm fairly decisive, but I'm still flip-flopping. I'm not quite sure. When I just about am at a point where I'm ready to make a commitment, the other candidate will say something and I'm thinking, oh, gee.
What about Ron Paul? He's got some libertarian leanings, certainly someone who may appeal to you.
He does, and I don't agree with him on everything, but I think what Ron Paul brings to the Republican Party is he really stirs up the debates. As we saw 20 years ago, he was talking about auditing the Fed, and now you see Newt Gingrich and Santorum on the same stage talking about auditing the Fed. So I think he's had a really positive influence. Even though I don't agree with him on everything, I think it really is valuable to have him in the debates.
Now, to go from the U.S. Senate race to the Secretary of State's race is quite a jump. Why Secretary of State?
Well, as you know, and I've talked about before, I've been in the business world my whole life. I was a CPA and a chief financial officer and a business professor at UNCG and business consultant multiple times during my life. And I really feel like business people are somebody I can admire and somebody I can work with. I feel like I speak the language. And in the Secretary of State's job description, it clearly says to facilitate business in North Carolina. I think I know how to do that. It's not just that employers want lower labor costs and lower taxes. They're really overburdened with regulations. And I would like to be part of that council of state that can work on reducing regulations in North Carolina to make us more competitive.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.